good?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Sounds the same to me. I was like, echo. No?
No,
We're good? All right, we're good. All right, guys, sorry for the delay. It's Saulo's fault somehow. But welcome to R-Rated Christianity. We were waiting a little bit because we were waiting for Pastor Marquise to get here because this is a topic that he wanted to get involved. He's going to be here on the way. He was coming from a worship night. But we just had to jump on. We didn't want to start too late. But we're going to just dive into a topic that's been a subject over and over again over months, I guess, about Israel and Christians. And we're seeing a very different environment than we've had in the past. I mean, I think evangelicals, Christians in general, conservatives, whatever you want to say, have supported Israel. And now you're just seeing this kind of rift, this split, even on the Christian side, on where Israel's at. I have dear friends of mine, one sitting to my right, that are Christian, devoted to Christ, but then just have a different opinion of Israel now. And I'm going to act as the ignorant interviewer today. I can't wait for Pastor Marquise to get here, but I'm going to ask questions that I think a lot of people have. I'm going to share my understanding of the issue. I think it's pretty simple, maybe not easy. I think it's simple, not easy. I think in general, people have this all or nothing approach to Israel. Either they walk between the raindrops, or they're the root of all evil type deal. And I don't think it has to be that way. There's no reason to. I know we're going to answer questions like, how are they God's chosen people, but they're not saved without Christ? What does that mean to be God's chosen people? Because that seems to be a topic of conversation these days. The government of Israel versus the land of Israel versus the people of Israel. Why did God choose the the Jews to bring the gospel message through? I mean, we have a Jewish Savior, on earth. He was in his humanity, his human form. He chose to be Jewish. I mean, that's just what he did. I guess he could have chose wherever he wanted to, but he chose that. So we need to talk about that, talk through that. And I don't know where you want to start, because I know Pastor Marquise had some good questions, and I almost don't want to ask the question because I don't know if there's context to it, or maybe he wants to expound on it. But in general, George, I mean, and Saulo, you chime in general, I guess, because I mean, there's a specific question that Pastor Marquise had that he was fielding, but in general, under logical and simple. And let's talk about what that means and what it doesn't mean. And I'll bear with me. I'll cut you off, and that's a good place to start. Yeah, let's just I'll, if I have to cut off, and we'll just kind of redirect or whatever.
It'll be really good as soon as you turn on my microphone. But
sure, yeah, your mic. Nobody can hear you guys.
Who just said that? Okay.
Yeah. It's the Jews' fault, right? Exactly. But so what does it mean to be God's chosen people? Yeah,
what does it mean?
I'm talking to myself. What the fuck are you doing?
What does it mean? Well, in the context of the only acceptable context is in the fact that the Jewish people are the primary mechanism, the national mechanism through which God chose to bring his gospel program through the world through Jesus Christ. Jesus was a Jew.
Right.
I know it comes as a surprise to Saulo, but he was. He was an actual Jew, and it was as Jewish as they came.
Right.
So God had to pick a nation, and he had at least pick a population group, and he picked the Jews. Now, they didn't exist, out of whole cloth. They were created. It was a nation that was created. I mean, they were all ancient Near Eastern persons, and he
talk about
he
that.
appealed.
What do you mean that? So when did this?
We're going back to about the late Bronze Age, early Iron Age. You're in the 16th century before Christ, and so that's the Pentateuch. So if you're going back right to Abraham, you're at about 2100 BC, and it's literally a bunch of pagan tribal population groups, literally throughout the ancient Near East.
What ethnicity are they?
There is no ethnicity.
You got it. It's just one.
These are tribal persons, and it's a region of the world, or ancient Near Eastern pagans.
And where were they located?
You're talking about the Mesopotamian Basin, the Fertile Crescent, ancient Persia.
What would that be?
Babylonia.
Today? What's that today?
Well, it's a mixture of really the Middle East. Really the Middle East, and yes, Israel, the current Canaan, is part of the ancient Near East. Canaan, now Israel, and then it was originally part of the ancient.
Before Israel, it was Canaan.
Canaan.
Got it.
Yeah, and for a time period, it was called generically Palestine.
Okay. Before Canaan.
Mm-hmm. No, it was really Canaan pre-Palestine.
Got it.
But when you get to around the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th centuries, you start hearing the term Palestine sporadically, really generically for that region. But it was known as the land of Canaan. They were Canaanites. and they were an ancient Near Eastern region, and it was pagan, just like all of their neighbors. And so Abraham was appealed to by God at the tail end of
And what was
Genesis chapter
Abraham?
11.
What was
He was an
Abraham?
ancient Near Eastern person.
So he was a
pagan.
Canaanite. He was a Canaanite.
Yes.
So
Well,
we've heard all the Canaanites.
No, he wasn't a
and
Canaanite. He was a pagan. He was outside of the region of Canaan, in the land of Ur. So yeah. All right, there he is, brother.
Pastor. 8:15. Was 8:22, guy?
Oh, come on! You gotta give.
Say it.
You gotta give us blacks at least 10 more minutes. Yeah, well,
I thought you were gonna say you were Latino.
oh no. Sorry. I don't.
Well, you got the Hispanic guy over there laughing. He's got nothing to laugh about.
That's not. Hey, don't laugh.
You're
at
saving,
that.
so you're out there at a worship night.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Good,
man.
good. Well, that's okay.
good.
That's worth it.
Well, you come all sanctified, and you know.
Sorry.
Have you been listening? Do you know what we're talking about?
I know what we're talking about. I
Jews.
wasn't listening.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, we're just talking about what does he mean by Jews being God's chosen people?
Yes.
So he's talking about the history from Canaan to Palestine.
Yep.
To eventually Israel, Abraham.
That is critical for us to define.
So
Yep.
so go ahead. So we have a group of people. There was no ethnicity. They're part of a region, right?
Yep.
But you have a bunch of Canaanites. You have mosquito bites. You have the Ananites. I mean, what are all the ites? So people might.
These were, these were tribal, ancient Near Eastern persons. Ancient Near East being a region, these are particular tribal demarcations of people. And there were hundreds of them, hundreds. And so Abraham lived in the land of Ur, and he was appealed to around 2100 BC and 2000 BC. And there's actually great inscriptional evidence of that.
Historical.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you see... You see some fantastic inscriptions, really on the entrance of Egypt in caves that show Semitic persons, and you're hard pressed to look at that and say, they're ancient Hebrews. They actually ancient Egypt actually had some sort of immigration regulation mechanism at the border, believe it or not, even 2100 BC, and so this was tracked inscriptionally. But setting that aside, so we can basically kind of pinpoint roughly when Abraham went into Egypt.
Okay.
And we can also pinpoint when he went into Canaan. So God said, I'm going to bless you. And we need to go back to see where God says this. This is in Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 to 3. He pulls him out, says that Abraham responded to him in faith, right? And by faith. And God accredited that to him as righteousness, right?
Hold on. I'm going to go back over. Don't forget that. But so we don't know why God chose Abraham. But
We have no idea.
him. Okay, got it. Keep going.
We have no idea. And so he appealed to him somehow because God can do these things. And so was it a dream? Was it a vision? Who knows? But God was able to reach him because he is God and can do that kind of
So
stuff.
he credited what is righteousness?
And so it says that Abraham believed what God said. He responded to him in faithfulness, and God accredited that to him as righteousness. And so this is an important passage, or it's an important reference in Genesis 11 through 12 because nothing's changed. But you see the gospel represented there because that's how righteousness is really attributed to us, but faith in God's redemptive work through his son, Jesus Christ, whom had not yet come. But Jesus is Yahweh.
He's
So
God.
it's timeless.
He's-
So
exactly.
Always been.
yeah. So without getting into that topic, which is another show, God had to appeal to someone because he's got a plan. There's a plan here, and it's the gospel program. It's a plan, and Jesus is ultimately going to come. He's going to come to benefit all of the families of the world, which will be blessed in Abraham. The scripture says, Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 to 3. It's an important passage. We should open it up and read it. But he says that he's going to bless him. And he says that he's going to take him to a land, that he's going to show him a land. And the land is going to be blessed. And he's going to be blessed in it. And so there's really three components of that blessing proclamation over Israel. The land is part of that blessing. And it is a specific land. And specifically wonderful things are planned for Abraham and his offspring and his descendants.
Is that just for that moment and that
No.
time? Or is that...
No, because it's reiterated.
perpetually?
It's enlarged and it's
How
reiterated.
big is the land?
Well, the land of the land, we have boundaries. We can calculate square footages or square acres, but if you look at the land of Israel right now, it is only a portion of that. So the land, and this gets into unfulfilled promises regarding the land, which shall be fulfilled when Jesus comes back in the millennial kingdom. And so we'll talk about that. That's
right.
You're going to get into Revelation chapter 19, verses 11, 15, and Revelation chapter 20, verses 11, 16. But we'll save that for another time. The point is that God made specific promises about the land, and what we see today in Israel does not comprise that full
promise
footprint.
to Abraham, is that the same promise to Israel today?
Well, yes, absolutely. That has not changed.
Where's that from?
We get that because the entire scripture reads, it reads in reiterations. It's not just to Abraham at that time and place. It's said to his descendants multiple times. You get into Egypt and he's still saying the same stuff. So it's said in Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 to 3. It's reiterated in Genesis chapter 15, verse 18. It's reiterated in Genesis chapter 17, verse 8. It's reiterated again in Genesis chapter 26, in Genesis chapter 27, and Genesis chapter 28. By that time, we're in Jacob.
I will bless you
says,
and your...
Absolutely.
Yep.
He says the exact same
But
thing.
now when you say your descendants, because I think this is a legitimate question, I don't think there's any pure Israelites anymore.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter whatsoever. Because
why doesn't it matter?
It doesn't matter because it sure as hell didn't matter when Ruth was at issue. She was a Moabite. She was not a DNA Jew. Okay. It didn't matter when Rahab was at issue. She was a Canaanite woman, and she actually was, what do you say? Grafted. She actually was converted. These are people who are converted to Judaism and then adopt that covenant. So that happened. I just brought up Ruth because she's significant. Obviously, she gets her own book. So Ruth is significant in her marriage to Boaz.
Yep.
And then you've got Rahab, and she's significant because she comes in through the tribe of Judah. For goodness sakes, I mean, Zipporah was an Egyptian, was a Midianite, and she was Moses's wife, and who then became a Hebrew. So the point is, it doesn't matter if
what's the land? What's the size of the land?
The land at the time in Canaan, you're going to have. So imagine for a moment that the current modern Israel is a slice of that. The actual land that's promised includes
have a map?
Includes Palestine.
Put up a map.
Well, people who can look this up, and I'll give you specifics. It includes what we know today as the Palestinians, so the West Bank, Gaza. It includes the current Israel right now. It includes portions of Egypt, with particularity to the Nile River, and that sucker runs throughout. It's a significant artery in Egypt. So portions of Egypt. It includes portions of Syria. It includes all of Jordan. It includes parts of Saudi Arabia. It includes parts of Iraq. So the footprint is significant. And
So did you see that interview with Tucker and Huckabee?
Yeah,
they went into that whole description of what the land was, and I was
sure. And I thought Huckabee handled himself. He was much more particular in his answers than I thought. Just kind of like the original interview with on this topic with Ted Cruz. I thought it was kind of awkward and clumsy. I thought they were both awkward and clumsy. I don't think Ted Cruz handled it at all.
No,
he didn't fill in these gaps, and he jumped from the theological to the political, and so people are confused naturally, and they're drawing inappropriate conclusions, understandably. I know what Ted Cruz was trying to communicate. He did it very badly.
What about Huckabee on the land?
No, I thought Huckabee did really well, but it wasn't an exhaustive conversation like we're having right now. I wish he would have. But again, there were so many topics. I don't want to sit in judgment, but it seems to me this was a good time to say, look, let's talk about those parameters, because to say that there is unfulfilled work on the part of God concerning the land is the understatement of the millennium. So that's coming. That fulfillment is coming. And it is to the people of Israel. That's Abraham, Abraham's descendants, offspring. That's the nation part. That includes people who convert to Judaism, Messianic Jews. So it is both the literal descendants of Abraham, but also the covenantal descendants of Abraham.
Which I believe is the book of Galatians that says that we are part of Abraham's offspring.
Well, be careful, because Paul, because there's two different ways to relate to Abraham. There's two different ways to relate to Abraham. The problem and the issue that Paul was chastising is that the Jews had said that the best and highest and only appropriate way to relate to Abraham was through lineage. And so preferential treatment, even salvifically, should be through lineage. Right? And so Paul disbanded that and just assailed it. He said, no, there's actually two ways to relate to Abraham. It's lineage and through faith, really, which is the same way that really the faith that was basically attributed to him as righteousness is the same faith then, the same mechanism by which we are then grafted in.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Yep, correct.
So that's important, and Paul distinguishes that. And if you read, and I wish we could bring this up, but I think Galatians chapter 3, verses 8 and 9 is where you see Paul clarifying. The nation of Israel isn't going anywhere. It is not any less blessed. It's not any less blessed.
You said 3.
I would go to Galatians chapter 3, verses 8 and 9. So I want to just be very clear about this. This is an unconditional, you've heard me say this before, Nico. This is an unconditional promise. It's an unconditional covenant that God makes to Abraham. He is the only party.
There we go. This is it. Yeah,
Yeah, scripture.
that's it. 8 and 9.
We're seeing, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay, right, that's right. So basically, why is it? Because if you read, this gets coupled with Genesis 12, 1-3, because he says that I'm going to bless you, I'm going to bless your descendants, and all the families of the world will be blessed in you. Now, we know what he means by that. Because what comes through Abraham, what's in Abraham, it's obviously the seed of Christ. That's critical. So there's no question. I mean, and I don't think anybody... Seriously, Jesus was a Jew. From a lineage perspective, there wouldn't be no Christianity without Judaism. And so we just have to say it as it is. And so Jesus comes through, he establishes the new covenant in faith. And so all of the families of the world who place their faith in Jesus are blessed, right? But Jesus... Did Jesus do anything to, and we're talking about this in men's Bible study, did he do anything to distance himself from the law? Did he do anything to distance himself from Abraham? For goodness sakes, we start Matthew 1 with the genealogy.
Let me ask you a question.
And he's a direct descendant of Abraham.
Let me have you a question that I've always had. So it's interesting to me that God would choose a people, of course, to bring in the gospel message. That makes sense to me on the chosen people. But they don't get a pass, because some people believe like the chosen people have a pass.
Right.
So God chose these people. He's good. We know what the scriptures say about how the second coming through the land of Israel. So you got to people that are anti-Jew, they have to contend with that.
You're right.
Okay. So all I'm saying is you got to contend with that.
Right.
And so, but why would he choose a people and a land, but everyone until now and until he comes back, who does not say yes to Christ is not going to be with him in eternity.
Okay, well, he can walk and chew gum at the same time, right? So, I mean, the requirements for salvation are the same. And this gets into...
What do you mean he can walk and chew gum at the same time?
Because they can still be a blessed and unique people.
But they're going to hell.
And still be
but the means through...
But I mean...
they'll go to hell like you and I will go to hell if we don't place our faith and trust in Jesus
enough,
Christ. And there's actually nothing in the New Testament that would suggest otherwise. In fact, Paul doubles down.
They don't get a free pass.
Right, exactly.
I agree with that.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't see how in the world you can read the New Testament and see anything to suggest that he gets a pass. And I don't see how in the world you can read the New Testament and think somehow that God has discarded these people as being all of a sudden inconsequential.
Right.
So neither of those polar extremes are acceptable, at least not biblically.
Right.
Now, I understand what's happening in popular culture, but it's bullshit. Excuse me, Pastor, I should have...
No, he don't care. He's used to it.
So I think we just kind of need to step back, go back to the scripture and see the parameters of the blessing and recognize this has nothing to do with Abraham's ability to comply or his descendants. Recognize that this is reiterated in Numbers 24 and 25. When we have the entire book of Numbers is dedicated to the disobedience of the first generation coming out of Egypt. This isn't a great resume. And the same thing is said. I'm going to make you a great nation. I'm going to bless you. This is not dependent on the failures of the people. This is God saying that.
But the Jews that said yes to God, Yahweh, before Christ are with Yahweh. But the Jews that said yes to Yahweh but no to Christ after Christ,
of course,
right.
Well, okay, that's...
Yeah,
I mean, I agree, but I'm just saying it's
Whatever,
just an interesting...
that's true.
It's an interesting cutoff. Like, sorry, my great-great-great-great-grandfather is going to be... And I'm not, because they both believe the same thing. Now, they weren't exposed to Christ.
No, any person, regardless of ethnic background, who says no to Jesus... is separated, separated from God.
But the people that said yes to Yahweh before Christ are with our Lord.
Well, sure.
Okay, what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. So you're going to have a Jewish people, pre-Old Testament, quote unquote, with Yahweh.
Yep.
And ultimately Christ. And then Jesus comes to save the world. And then those same people with the same upbringing, but now they've been exposed to Christ that said no to him are going to be separated from him.
That's correct.
I know. I mean, it's just interesting. But yeah, I get it. I trust the Lord's character, so it doesn't have a problem with me. But just think about that.
Well,
I mean,
I don't think the scripture from the Old to the New makes it clear that Yahweh and Jesus, Yahweh and Christ are the same God,
I
different
know,
persons,
but they were saying
the same God.
I know, but
right?
they were saying yes to Yahweh.
Okay.
They're saying yes to Yahweh. The second person of the Trinity was not on earth incarnated in the Old Testament, is incarnate in the New Testament.
Correct.
So they may have said no to Christ also, but they just weren't exposed to him. And I don't know how that changes the heart posture other than, I mean, obviously the most important part is saying no to Christ. But it's just interesting to me
Yeah,
because
I
these
think-
people could have said no to Christ also. They just didn't have the opportunity.
Yeah, I think this.
Does that make sense to you?
I absolutely do.
Yeah.
I mean, I
it,
absolutely
it
understand
makes
that.
sense rhetorically, but theologically, here's the rub.
Please.
This gets back to John 8:56 to 58, and I think it's important. And I think the notion that this was somehow restricted.
That's where I am right now.
John 8:56 to 58 is important because the notion that that's somehow restricted to Abraham, I think, is a stretch. What does it say in John 8? He's remarking to
Yep.
the Pharisees because Jesus is calling himself God here,
Yep.
and it's scandalous. But go
Because
ahead.
they all are at this point saying, well, we're a part of Abraham. We're a part of Abraham. And then Jesus responds, your father Abraham rejoiced that he would see my day. He saw it and was glad. So the Jews said to him, you are not yet 50 years old, and you have seen Abraham? Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am, which is a divinity claim.
Yep.
It's a divinity claim, but it's also a revelatory claim. So the notion that, and we don't know because we weren't there, but by every indication, Nico, you've got the character of Christ and you've got the presence of Christ, not as Jesus of Nazareth, but you have the character of the law, not just the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law, which is encapsulated in Abraham's response in faith. So, this is powerful because the notion that people who communed with God, Israelites who communed with God and walked with God, got it. They got it. They got it. They got what the law was about, which was really relational. And this is why we got to study covenant in the Old Testament. The covenant is how God relates to people. Even now, He relates in covenant, in relationship. And so there was a relationship.
That's good.
Christ hadn't yet died for sins. And there's a whole aspect of this. It's like where are people? This is important. Where are people exactly when they die? Let's say a faithful Israelite who died pre-Christ. He's not lost.
Explain it really quick. You and I have talked about this and we've taught on it, but it's just say it for the audience. So we're not talking about something that they don't follow us with. Explain that quickly. And then
I don't know that I want to dedicate, because that's a whole other discussion. I want to do it justice, but I guess what I'm saying is I don't want
version just so people can understand.
Sure.
Sheol and Gehenna and all that. I mean, you got to explain some of these things.
Hades, the ancient version,
Hades.
This is a place of conscious existence. When someone dies, in the Old Testament, you hear references to Sheol. Now, Sheol is a place where the unrighteous dwell. Unrighteous. It's also a place where the righteous dwell in different parts of Sheol, but it's also used for the word grave. So whenever you read Sheol, don't necessarily assume
It's afterlife.
right. And so the question is a legitimate question. I think we ought to dedicate some time to that.
So Hades is what?
And
Versus
Hades
Sheol.
is the Greek version of Sheol.
Got it. And
Right.
and so this is an afterlife existence. One of its is a place with Yahweh. Another place is separated from Him. What there ultimately would be
Right.
in the pits of hell, burning
That's exactly right.
like a barbecue skewer.
So
Not
Pastor,
not according to Kirk Cameron. Sorry.
Kirk Cameron didn't know what the hell he's talking about.
by the time you get to the New Testament, Hades, you guys are killing me.
Sorry.
Hades is not treated that way. Hades is exclusive for the unbeliever. Jesus talks in terms of paradise. So paradise and Hades are to be contrasted. And so all I want to say is that
and then where's
there
Gehenna?
aren't.
What's Gehenna then? I want to make sure I'm clear. So you have Sheol and Hades, same word. Both believers and rejectors of Yahweh are in different portions of it, right? Waiting for Christ.
Yeah, Gehenna is mostly attributed to the lake of fire, eternal damnation, eternal consumption. That's what Gehenna is reserved for. Now, its roots go back to an actual geographical area outside of Jerusalem, where horrible, atrocious things happened, actually to and because of ancient Israel. But Gehenna is really sort of equated with
we got to get off this
eternal
topic
loss.
with this one.
I know,
Back to
man.
the Jews.
'Cause
I know, but I want to ask you real quick because I don't want to leave the audience confused. So when someone passed away pre-Christ, where would they be now?
Well, if they passed away pre-Christ and they're in there and they've responded in faith
To Yahweh.
to Yahweh,
Okay.
they're in the presence of God.
Now,
Sure.
Okay, and then what about the other Mamelukes that said no?
Well, I mean,
Then there's
sure. I mean, the consequences have always been
they're
the
not in the
same.
lake of fire yet, right? Because
that's right.
that's after the second.
Yeah,
coming.
that judgment is the great white throne judgment, and
right.
that actually happens in Revelations chapter 20.
Okay.
And that happens after the millennial kingdom.
Okay.
There's 1,000 years there, which I mean, I take to be literal because there's no reason to believe otherwise. What you see is God over and over and over again looking for opportunities to give people second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh chances. Even Israel, the major objective, not the entire objective for that 1,000 years, is to give national Israel an opportunity to come back to him. Remember Romans 11:26, that all Israel will be saved. People are like, what? All Israel? All of national Israel. It doesn't mean individual Israelites will all be saved. It means that Israel as a body politic, to the extent that they're against the Messiah now, will be for the Messiah. They'll come to the Messiah as a political body.
And this is
in the
different
1,000
than
years.
the government of Israel.
No, I mean the government of Israel, the government of Israel, the nation of Israel, its leaders, the overwhelming majority of Israel. I don't want to, because salvation is individual. So when Paul says that all Israel will be saved, in context, he's making a national reference, like the nation. Like right now, national Israel isn't saved, right? Most people would agree with that. Yeah. So there's a reversal of that in the millennial kingdom. By that time, the tribulation has happened, or the rapture, if you're a premillennialist, as I incline to. But I just want to say that these promises are unconditional, and when I mentioned those various passages where he says it and reiterates it, he says it that it's an everlasting covenant. That's important. So those promises are everlasting promises. I didn't say that. He said that. And God's the only member of that particular covenant.
I want Pastor to ask some questions because I think you were fielding some. But why such a disdain? What do you think happened? Because there's a lot of people that used to be pro-Israel. Sure. And people bring this up all the time. And because the videos show it. Even Charlie Kirk was questioning his his support of Israel, and the videos are what they are. It was very close to his passing. I'm not saying he's right. He's not the standard bearer of everything. I mean, he was a good thinker, and I think he was an honest actor. I mean, he was an honest broker of information. But where do you think? I guess there's a couple of questions there. I want you to. I know you have questions to ask away. But what has shifted? Because in my lifetime, it's shifted.
Well, we parked on the theological, Nico, for a while here. So I wonder if there's any theological crumbs we need to clean up before, because now you're jumping into the political.
Well, yeah. Well, fair enough. But the political is influencing the Christian.
So what's happening is that when people are responding to, there's people who believe theologically a certain way and they have a long time. And now because there are political questions, they see that as a way to kind of walk through the gate and bring all the theological confusion and conflate it with the political. And that's happening a lot right now. And when you try to have a conversation with them, it doesn't matter because these people have so inculcated their beliefs theologically, it's like talking to the hand.
And so what beliefs are you talking about?
Well, for instance, I just said that Genesis chapter 12, verses 1-3, per the language, is an unconditional eternal covenant. And it's reiterated over and over and over and over again. Paul in Galatians chapter 3 and Romans 11 says nothing of the sort that God has somehow gotten rid of Israel. There's no reference to that. Jesus himself said, who was a Jew, who himself said he not only came to, he came to fulfill the law, he came to abolish the law, he came to fulfill. That's a Jewish law given by a Jewish priest, if you will.
Do people conflate?
And a Jewish prophet.
Sorry. Do people conflate with what I brought up with Galatians as what God said to Abraham in Genesis 12? Does that apply to modern day Christians who are, would say, you're the seed of Abraham? Like, so I'll just say this: growing up, we're modern day Israel. We're modern day.
It's an excellent question. Where the blessing is, that pertains to us because we're the product of that blessing. Because all the families of the world are going to be blessed in Abraham, and that's the seed.
And the blessing is Jesus.
Of course.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, and that's important. So that aspect is, and Paul continues that theme in the New Testament.
I agree.
But there's no such reference to Christians having a claim on the land in the New Testament for a reason.
There's no such claim.
So there's three aspects to the blessing.
Yes.
Land, nation, blessing.
What land?
Okay,
nation?
and so land and nation don't apply to us.
Right. But the blessing does apply to us, but it also applies to them.
What's the distinction between
right.
land?
The difference is, right.
So,
they get all three.
So the land and the nation, and this is contextually, The land and the nation are exclusive to Israel
Got it.
because it's called Israel.
Yep.
What do you mean land and nation? The land.
Which is what he was,
No,
Saudi
I understand.
Arabia.
I got that. But the nation, you meaaning them having a
The
nation?
nation of Israel.
In
Abraham, the
1948,
descendants.
They
and-
established a nation of Israel.
yeah, but long before that as well.
I understand that, but there was a period of time.
Yes.
How long was it?
This is where people
Well, it was
get
a
confused.
significant diaspora.
Yeah.
There was a dispersion of the Jews. And a lot of that was driven by substantial persecution. Substantial persecution. And I've not written yet this paper, but at some point I will, because people have said it anecdotally, and I think there's merit to it, Nico, that there's been multi-millennial persecution of the Jewish people, and it has not gone well. I challenge anybody to find an empire that systematically persecuted the Jewish nation and has lived to tell about it. Anyone. I mean, from the Assyrians to the Babylonians, to the Persians, to the Greek Seleucids, to the Romans, to the Spanish. Oh my goodness, the Spanish Inquisition. They wiped out hundreds of thousands of Jews in the 15th century. 1492, under Ferdinand and Isabella, while they were blessing Christopher Columbus to come to the West, they were persecuting a boatload of Jews. The 1391 massacre in Spain. And then you get in the 20th century. I mean, do I need to really give anybody a 20th century lesson? I mean, but it started before that. It started with the Balfour Resolution under the British Empire, where they did a bait and switch on Israel, where they said that they were going to demark the land. Remember the UN partition? Well, 30 years before, the British had been promising Israel that they were going to block out X piece of land. By the time they got to 1948, they had shapeshifted on that, and now you've got a bunch of Arabs living in their footprint, which led to tensions. So that was a betrayal by the British. How about the Nazis? I mean, right? The 1,000-year reign, which actually lasted from 12 years, from February of 1933 to April of 1945, and on and on and on. You see a wipeout of major global empires with significant influence. And all of them have engaged, setting aside with an asterisk the British Empire, all of them have engaged in systematic persecution.
So what you're
of Jews.
saying is Saulo's in danger.
I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse
Well,
you.
see, now you better explain that, because
Absolutely.
Ted Cruz handled that wrong.
And
terribly.
I want to
Okay, let me
piggyback
explain
on
that.
that question by just
Go ahead.
saying, and we talked about this, layman's terms.
Yes.
People are saying, hey, what does it mean to, yes, I see there's a special purpose, special plan with Israel. How far does our support of Israel go? And I think this is where we jaywalk to political, because they're saying, yes, I'm for allegiance, but if I'm seeing corruption, what do I do with that? And I think there's a conflation also, George, with when we say Israel. Are you saying the people? Are you saying the land?
Let's talk about. Well, I mean, I think
Not
let's
you,
talk
but
about
I'm
the
saying when
people
people-
group. Let's
yeah.
talk about Israel, the nation of Israel, and yes, this is people who are they would be ethnic descendants of the original Hebrews, and yeah, there's been a bunch. Our friend and you and I were texting about. There's been a ton of genetic haplogroup DNA analysis done. And there's no question that a significant portion of people who are in Israel tie back DNA to people groups from that area. So you've got population group markers in that DNA. They're called haplogroups. You've got them conflating around that particular region, and it can be dated. And so you can literally tie these people back. Now that gets diluted over time,
For sure.
but you can still trace it because it's that sensitive. And so there's people who are converted who have no Jewish DNA, original Jewish DNA, but the nation of Israel, Jews, people who are Jews. So those persons, the blessings of God in Genesis 12, reiterated in Genesis 15, they stand. That hasn't changed. The land of Israel, as promised to them, they will get that land. Absolutely. Now, because of their stupidity and their disobedience in the Old Testament, all of that was postponed. All of that was delayed. And I want to be very clear about this. It isn't that just other nations have persecuted them. They did a really good job of being stupid and doing a lot of stupid things in the Old Testament. I just want to point this out, Nico. Correcting the nation of Israel is a blessing of God to them. I want to be very clear about that. If you and I are correcting Israel,
That's good.
if you and I are correcting Israel because we think they're being dumb, if you and I are doing that,
I agree.
that is a blessed
no
thing
different
to
than
do.
correcting a child.
We will be blessed for doing that. So I want to be clear about that. The shit that I hear, on Instagram and on social, that is not correcting Israel.
Right.
That is talking about Israel as if there's some sort of national malignancy or global malignancy, like there's something inherently wrong with the Jew. This is the stuff of anti-Semitism. When you and you can hear tropes, and we've talked about tropes in here in various contexts. You can hear tropes about that. It's the Jews. There's this insidious sort of mystical connection of the Jews to the Jews, where it's almost like a supernatural, devilish kind of thing. Like they're all in charge of the entertainment business. All the Jews are in charge of the financial sector. All the Jews are in charge of banking. All the Jews. So it's a weird and strange sort of lumping people together under this kind of malignant language. That's not correction. Correction is what Charlie Kirk was engaging in when he chastised Israel. And I saw the text on that where he says, you guys are doing a crappy job communicating what you're doing in Gaza. Now, there may be really good reasons for it, and it's been your criticism. There have been really good reasons for it, but man, we're lost as farts in the wind over here. I mean, and one of his criticisms was there's literally nobody over there managing the Western press. You're washing your hands of it. You're giving us both, 2 barrels in the air. That's unacceptable. And you're losing a ton of support because people are in the dark. Who the hell do you think you are? He said, I love you. I'm with you. So let's talk about what it means to bless Israel. To bless Israel means to desire and to promote their survival. Yeah, I desire and I promote the survival of Israel. I also support and I recognize that Israel has a right to exist as a sovereign nation. I believe that, and I fight for that, and I promote that. I think that's important. I also think that we should welcome Jewish persons into our culture, and we have. This nation has a rich heritage of doing that. I believe that, and so this is why we say Judeo-Christian.
Right.
And so there was never any repudiation of Jews, even in the early founding of the nation, because we recognize there's a shared heritage. And so I think it's beautiful. Look, Paul.
But then why don't Christians try to evangelize to Jews more?
Well, it's certainly easier here. Yeah. And I went for years to a Messianic Jewish church. I went to Beth Yeshua in Philadelphia. I think I shared that with you. And I love it. It's a powerful, powerful place to be. And I love their evangelical work to Jews. It's happening all over the place. It's easier to happen here, Nico, because theologically we're not under the control of kind of a rabbinical system. Right. Whereas in Israel, the rabbinical sector has considerable influence on the government, and so they're very protective. Look, we just got to come clean. All the persecutions that I mentioned to you, a lot of it happened by alleged Christians.
Persecution of the Jews?
Yes. By alleged Christian governments. Ferdinand and Isabella, for one. The Polish, largely Catholic, the Polish pogroms, which were campaigns against Jews that led to the extermination.
Why did they do it? Do we have any evidence of why they did it?
Look, brother, it's the libels. It's the notion that Jews killed the Savior. And so a lot of that animosity has happened between Catholics and Jews. And I mean, Catholicism, I think most people know this historically, at least up until the Protestant Reformation in 1517. Catholics that was the representative face of Christianity. Obviously, that was Christianity. And so there is an understandable sensitivity of those Christians will turn on you faster than you can imagine. And so there's a sensitivity to that. And I get it. I mean, look, you can't look at history and say, it's different now.
Right.
Okay. Millions and millions and millions of people were wiped out, destroyed from 1936 to 1945. And at the center of that appeasement was the German Lutheran Church and the German Church. Okay, so look, we just got to own it, and we got to recognize that nobody comes to the table with clean hands.
Right.
And so I just want to point that out. That's how I mean. That's what I think that what God is communicating there. But also, I want to point out that you correct the nation of Israel if you have a legitimate criticism of the government of Israel. Yeah, in other words, like a legitimate criticism of Salo or Nico or me. Yeah. Do your research, right? Don't slander me.
Yeah.
Do your research.
Right.
If Nico has a criticism for me, I'll receive it.
Right.
A, I know he loves me, and 2, I know he does his homework.
Is this a legitimate criticism?
What's this mean?
Absolutely not. Not one penny should go to
great.
Israel. Why should we send money to a country who believes that our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, is boiling in shit?
Okay, that's
who
nonsense.
Believes that Mother Mary is a whore.
Okay, yeah, that's just complete rubbish. So I'll tell you.
What do you mean? What's rubbish about it?
What's rubbish is he's pulling a very badly quoted statement from the Talmud.
Is that in there?
Okay, the problem with the statement from the Talmud, and you're going back
Explain what
really.
the Talmud is to people. So
The Talmud is really, they call it the Jewish Bible. That's sort of the shortcut for it. But it is a compendium of rabbinical teachings, basically rabbinical case law. So you have the law, the Torah. But then there is a lot of dialogue among rabbinical scholars over the centuries on how to apply that. And it's a legitimate question. How do you? We have law books. So the Talmud serves really kind of as this sort of embodiment of case law and the Torah and the Pentateuch.
Like a work in progress thing?
More of like an application.
Yeah, I think that's right. There's an application.
Is it holy to them?
I'm sorry.
Is it holy to them?
Well, the law is. The law is.
But the Talmud is the application of the law.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you got the Mishnah and the Gemara. So those are basically snippets of law that apply to particular circumstances or situations. And so there are books over the centuries, and there's people who have weighed in.
Okay.
And so this is a particular, very rough reference to a quotation from the Talmud. The problem is that when you look at the reference of Yeshua, do you have any idea how many Yeshuas there are?
It just means Joshua.
I mean, it was super common.
Okay. So what's the point?
Well, the point is we have no idea that that's referring to Jesus.
So there's a
literally
line in the Talmud that
well,
says.
let's read the context. I mean, what does it say? Can we
I
pull
don't
it up?
know.
Literally zero, number one. Number two, the vast majority of Judaism repudiates it. So remember,
So that's a very specific sect of Judaism, like a little group. And who believes that?
the point.
I mean, because let me tell you what's going on. There's a lot of videos going around of different groups of Jews
Yes.
treating Christians like shit, and that's I think that's where the defensiveness, like that
Yeah.
guy Mo and other people have had, okay, so you can criticize, judge that behavior, and not ignore what the scriptures say.
Okay. So I guess what I'm trying to communicate is it's not that it's necessarily a sect of Judaism. What I'm saying is that it's not taken seriously by authoritative Judaism. It's not, this is not something that the overwhelming number of Jews, certainly not in the United States. And there's really three different sects of Judaism or denominations. There's the Orthodox, there's the conservative, and there's the Reform.
Is that the sideburns, guys?
Just keep going. Just ignore it.
Wait, I'm asking about sideburns.
Ignore it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm asking,
Yeah.
you can't ask
Yes,
about sideburns.
those would be Orthodox.
So okay,
So that's a line in the Talmud that most, like you said, overwhelming amount of Judaism would repudiate.
And so the reason it's been tied to Jesus is because you've got somebody who is contesting the rabbis.
Gotcha.
He is contesting the rabbis. He's telling the rabbis to basically F off. Yeah. And so he this is the context. And because of that, he's basically judged. Obviously, nobody made it over there to see what's going on in the afterlife.
They're not clear enough. We can't read any context of which Yeshua this is. I mean, I'm sure there's before or after that's explaining who this dude is that's telling these rabbis to piss off. We don't know. Can we read it? Can we pull it up? I mean, I've never read it, so I don't know. I've heard about that statement.
I haven't heard that statement.
I've heard it.
Yeah, I've heard that
Because
statement.
people use it all the time, too.
Oh,
I guess the point that I'm saying is,
Well, have you read
he
it?
says, no, of course I have.
Okay.
But my point is, take your pick. So it's at best ambiguous. And this gentleman is saying that we shouldn't support Israel because of that. Oh, wow. Okay, I guess we should forget the fact that Israel is basically an outpost of American foreign policy in the Middle East, in a sea of enemies. I guess we should just disregard that.
So that's the political. That's not we're getting into the political.
Well,
argument.
he's making a political statement
based off of a theological.
and it's a complete misrepresentation.
This is open the door, bring in all of the theological, what we would assume into this political.
Sure. So in other words, let's disregard decades of shared intelligence, critical intelligence that have saved thousands of lives of Americans from Israel to the United States. Let's just blow that off. because in the 2nd century somewhere, somebody thought it was a good idea to make a statement about some Yeshua who gave the middle finger to a couple of rabbis, and they put down in the Mishnah or the Gemara that this Yeshua is now boiling in urine in the afterlife. Now, which one sounds more rational to you?
Yeah. It doesn't
study that
it
first.
doesn't make sense, because even those who are non-Messianic Jews, there's still a reverence for who Jesus was, not as Lord, but there's still a reverence, not to the point of what this is saying. So I could see how that doesn't make or line up.
What I see is people that are trying to make the point against Israel and Jews. They'll take these situations where there's some just irritating, vulgar stuff that you see some Jewish people, which ones, the sideburn ones, and other people that treat Christians, spitting on them, doing this, saying stuff about Jesus. I mean, you see the videos. Now, are they the representative of all Jews?
Right.
No, you can't say that. I mean, it's not universally accepted. I think that's what George's point is. And I think that's irresponsible. That's like, I mean, I'll just say it. I mean, for me, I don't know if it's a 1-for-1. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I've shared this before. I mean, 4 men were responsible for my brother's murder. They happen to be black. But that isn't what, I mean, you're my brother.
Right, there's
I
no
love you.
representation for a group of people.
That doesn't represent all black people or Hispanics that do crimes or whites or whatever it is. I mean, so I don't, that's where I try to tell people to pump the brakes. Like, you're looking for a reason to hate or to resist this.
I just, again, want to point out, you mentioned theology. This is important, and it didn't occur to me when you said it. This isn't theological.
What is it?
The reference in
Talmud?
Gittin 57a, Gittin 57a. It's a book of the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud. It's not law. So they have various case law, they have applications, but they also have allegory. They have narrative. This is under narrative and allegory. Okay. And the vast majority of scholars have not even close to concluded that they're talking about the Jesus of Nazareth. Okay. I just want to point that out. To say we're not going to support Israel because of that, that's not rational.
I got it.
Okay, so I guess that's where we jump to your point, Marquise. We jump very quickly from a really sort of, with respect, a really sort of clumsy and shabby understanding of the theology of Israel, actual theology of Israel, to a huge political conclusion with disregard for everything else. I think that's dangerous.
So how would you have answered Tucker?
That's a good question.
If Ted Cruz could have tagged you,
And what was the question? Can we think about the
Genesis, and he didn't know it was Genesis 12. Those that bless Israel will be blessed. Those
But what
who
was
curse
Tucker's
Israel.
question?
Because Ted Cruz brought it up.
Okay.
And he goes, "Where is that?"
What is that? Yeah.
And then of course Tucker knew it was a gotcha moment, but then Tucker didn't know stuff against
yeah.
Huckabee, how many people, whatever Christians
Gotcha.
were in. I mean, whatever. I mean, yes.
I would simply say that God is the one speaking there. God is the one speaking.
What does that mean? He asked. Does
And
that
he made
mean
a covenant.
Does that mean the government of Israel today?
Well, sure it does. Of course. Listen, I just said, if I desire, do I want the government of Israel to be assassinated?
No.
Okay, so I desire and promote their survival.
Right.
I desire and promote the survival of the government of Israel. Why wouldn't I? I don't want those people exterminated. How Christian is that?
This is my take on this. I think when we think of bless, like if I were to gift you something, that's a
Good, go ahead.
blessing. George is clarifying the way we bless our children is to correct them and to rebuke them at
And
times.
desire their
That's
well-being.
brilliant.
A rebuke is a strong correction with the desire for redemption. Redemption.
Nick,
No,
I love it. I say that.
Repentance. And so I rebuke my children. I've done that often. I do it harsh, and there's consequences to that.
Yeah.
But my intention is for them to repent.
And you desire and promote their well-being.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, I
That's
broke
the
it.
blessing.
Yes, that's a blessing.
Exactly. I desire and promote.
Not send million.
Well,
I bless him, I bless America, I bless Israel.
Like,
What's the difference?
keep in mind, desire and promote. I'm trying to be particular about this because I'm taking into consideration what has happened to Israel over and over and over and over and over again. Literally, their extermination.
Right.
It's important
Right,
to point
right.
out, and I've said this to Nico a couple of times. It probably sounds like a broken record, but it's true. And most people don't understand that half of their population, half of their global population, was wiped out in like 6 years. Between 1936, 9 years, 1936 and 1945. And it all started with this crap that you're hearing on Instagram, with this sort of almost dehumanization of the Jew. It all starts with that. And it happened the same way in the previous the previous century. And you could literally go back to the very beginning. So I'm very sensitive to say, what does it mean to bless them? I promote, I desire their survival. I do. And their well-being. Okay?
Strategic and saying survival.
But see, that can mean a lot of things. Because that's going to mean correction, rebuking them, not agreeing with them. When you say bless those, see, the problem is you have a Ted Cruz that is afraid to criticize constructively Israel at all costs.
Right.
And then Tucker can't compliment him at all costs.
Right.
And it's like, well, no, that's not the way the world works. And so to bless them is to correct them. So when the question is, if there's evidence that the government of Israel is not doing something that is right, then you don't support that. Yeah. Without jumping on Iran's back.
I love it.
And
I think you should have continued.
Yeah.
So what's a proper correction from you about Israel today?
Well, I gave Charlie Kirk what he said as a legitimate. I've said that to Nico many times.
You're doing a poor job.
On PR. He's talking about how they operate.
I know, but he approached them and they blew it off. That's a problem.
No, but what Charlie was talking about, I have no longer can say that I am for the Israel cause. I don't want to misquote him, so somebody can look it up. I'm sure Salo has it on his saved videos.
At no point do we actually have, and I have painfully read all of it. I try to piecemeal because people put out pieces, and I got to put it together in a little puzzle. And it's maddening. But I have never seen anything from Charlie Kirk to suggest that he was doing a 180 on Israel in terms of supporting them in the way that I'm describing it, which is what I believe he meant. And I just want to go through that very quickly. I desire and promote their survival. I believe that they have a right to exist as a sovereign nation, which means I believe they have a right to defend themselves. I think that's important. It means to not rejoice in the death or the downfall of Israel or the Jewish people. I would go so far as to say, welcome them in our nations.
Come in the right way, though?
Well, yes,
No, just come on.
Just ignore him.
Come on.
Just ignore him. Just ignore him. Just keep going.
Gotta watch this guy, man.
Keep going. I like that. That's good.
Gotta watch.
I'm getting to you. I got to get away from you guys.
No. I get more of it.
And lastly,
Sorry.
and Nico knows this because we've talked about this in terms of Jesus' command in Matthew 5. Pray for the Jewish people, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
I mean, pray for their salvation. Pray that they would be blessed in the greatest way of all. Not just, of course, the salvation, but I pray for their blessing, that God would bless them. Because if God's in charge of a blessing, there's no way that a person who is wayward will be allowed to continue that way without correction. So when I pray, bless Benjamin Netanyahu, I pray for blessing upon him and his family. I'm not saying that God looked the other way when Benjamin Netanyahu does something stupid just because he's Jewish.
Never does.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
I'm saying, Lord, bless him. And when Benjamin Netanyahu is doing something that is destructive to himself or to his family or to his nation or perhaps the United States, and I'm not saying he is, I'm just saying if, then I would pray that God would correct that. And I would pray that anybody would correct him, including the United States or anyone. So I just believe that. I think it is unchristian. And I think it is wrong to wish for the demise of Israel. That is wrong. And you're going to have a problem. Not with me, not with the United States, not with Bibi, but you're going to have a problem with God. I have no idea how, but you're going to have a problem with God. How do I know that? Because he tells you not to do that. And it's unconditional, and it's an everlasting covenant. And last time I checked, everlasting kind of means everlasting. And we have stuff that's unfulfilled, and God thinks it's important to go fulfill it, but you're okay with them being exterminated. So we just got to step back, and there's a lot of Christians who take that posture.
You know, I think it's fascinating, Marquise, that some people, because they're so critical of Israel, that they find themselves defending a country like Iran. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's insane to me. Iran is pure evil. The ideology is evil. People are cheering in the streets.
Right.
How many Arab nations are coming to their defense? On the contrary. They turned on countries that were supportive of them or at worst neutral to them from their perspective. And they were going to stay out. And then they attacked them. I mean, this is, it's like having a pet rattlesnake with that ideology.
And then funding groups like Hamas, Hezbollah.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Houthis, I mean,
it's insane.
Well, they have thousands and thousands of American bodies on their hands. I mean, and they're evil and to their own people. They murdered 30,000 plus people just last week or last month of their own protesters, quote unquote, because they're not free.
Let me ask you this. Is there a point, this is going political, is there a point that Israel could get to that we as America, and this is putting you in the presidential seat, we as America should no longer have as an allegiance or an alliance as strong as we do.
Yeah, I'm always concerned about a hypothetical situation.
I got you.
I guess I would just speak in the present.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing that Israel is doing right now,
Yeah.
to my knowledge, and somebody can bring it to my attention, that would justify
Yeah.
us booting Israel,
Right.
and sort of washing our hands of Israel, at least in terms of preferred ally status. And I've told Nico this. I would argue, and I'll argue it all day long with lots of data. I think they are our most important and consequential and consistently so ally in the world. And no, the UK was right up there, and they're nowhere near that for lots of other reasons.
Yeah.
But I would put Israel, despite the fact that Israel is far from perfect, for goodness sakes.
Right.
I mean, no question about it.
Well, what about the argument? Because, Saul's thinking it. We're occupied. We're owned by Israel. We're all this.
I guess the corrupt.
No, but that's important
because everybody
think that.
The posture is the corruption, and there's this like. To your point, it's this like, no, there's some corrupt, shady stuff going on, which to your point was the burden of proof is on you to let me know what that is. But at the same time, I guess what I understand where Nico's coming from, because there is that posture of, no.
We're occupied. They own everything. They did this. They killed Kennedy. They killed this. I mean,
Right.
it's like, okay, look, I'll follow the evidence wherever it leads me.
So Nico
but you
said-
better have some strong.
Oh, right. So that I'll just as a snippet. I mean, you sent me that text that somebody was making the argument going back to 1962 and 63. And by the way, we have the correspondence in the National Archives.
What happened then?
The President of the United States, John F. Kennedy Jr., just in the aftermath of the Bay of Pigs invasion and the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Cuban Missile Crisis was a tepid success. The Bay of Pigs invasion was a complete disaster. Imagine Venezuela going in the worst possible way. That's exactly what happened with Cuba. Okay, so he's in the aftermath of that. And so he hears, with good reason, and I believe that he was, Israel has always been, by the way, very cagey about their nuclear development program. They've always been that way. They claim neutrality. They don't want to
They have nukes.
They always
They
have
have nukes.
Yeah.
Whatever. But they have, look, and if they have nukes, they've had them for a long ass time. Yeah. But that's been their position forever. In 1962 and 63, there was strong indication from intelligence to suggest that Israel was developing nuclear weapons back then. And so John F. Kennedy was concerned about that. He was concerned about armaments. He had just come from major confrontations. I mean, we're not too far removed, 16, 17 years removed from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So he's handling this with kid gloves. He's concerned about proliferation. And so he's having dialogue with David Ben-Gurion about it, the prime minister of Israel at the time. And so they're in staunch disagreement over this, where Ben-Gurion is basically saying, look, the Arab League is arming as we speak. Exactly how many times do we have to get attacked, Mr. President? I mean, they've been, you remember the conditions under which they came into Israel in 1948. I mean, they were attacked literally the next day by 5 to 6 nations. It was pillage. So they're surrounded by enemies.
How did they defend themselves if they just became a nation?
I know.
Yeah. Impressive as hell. The point is that Israel has a legitimate pushback. Okay, all of this correspondence has been taken to conclude that so heated and so busted was the relationship between the Prime Minister of Israel and John F. Kennedy Jr. that clearly this is why he was assassinated, and the Jews are behind John F. K's assassination. That's where ultimately this went. That's the setting of the backdrop. And so people hear snippets of this. Oh, okay. Oh, effing Jews. And so they pick, the USS Liberty. That's right, from 1967. And I sent Nico an explanation on how that's a nothing burger if you get the full story. And so this is my point. If you've got an axe to grind, right, what do you always say if you're a hammer? Everything's a nail.
Everything's a nail.
And so this is the kind of stuff that I field. And because, I've spent decades studying Israeli history and in the history of, I love, ancient peoples and ancient histories and a bunch of graduate work on the First Testament. And so this fascinates me. So the theological and the political, Nico, they invariably converge, but it's important to understand them as separate but related entities so that we can combine them in a responsible manner. So Salo asks about the support. Does that mean I've got to support everything that comes out of Israel? Hell no. Of course not.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe in America first. As a Christian, I believe in America. I am not a citizen of Israel.
That's right.
I'm not.
That's why Mark Levine irritates the crap out of me.
I'm not. And so I know if something that is objectively not in America's best interest and it's going to damage the country in some way and hurt the people of this country, and somehow it's perceived that it's going to benefit Israel, tough. By the way, I don't believe that. I think if anything inherently damages the United States, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt Israel too. So aligned our political objectives. That's my point.
So is there any evidence to what this, because you just hear it in terms of their shady stuff, that we're in their back pocket, they're funding. Is there any evidence to any of that stuff that's percolating on Instagram and social media?
We've been providing aid to Israel for a long time.
Right. Financial aid.
Right. It's the same people that have been completely quiet about all the aid that we've been providing to, I hate to say it, but the Palestinians that ends up in the coffers of Hamas. You know, the same people who have all of a sudden the problem with that on the left are the same people who are cheering Barack Obama as he handed over hundreds of millions of dollars on pallets
Millions or billions?
to Iran. I'm being gracious.
Wow.
Because it was multiple times.
Yeah.
So the point I guess what I'm making is we've given aid and we should. We should give
to Israel
aid. Yes, we should give aid, and there should always be conditions. Our aid has conditions.
Yeah.
It does. There's been a boatload of shared intelligence. Again, this is important. That is critical.
That is critical.
Because there's criticism. Look, there's been mutual spying on each other. So we're friends with the eye open. You know, we sleep in the same room like this.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we do. I mean, they
I'm okay with.
They spied on us, and we spied on them.
But just keep in mind, if we're going to go down, that's true.
But we just got to call it out.
It is a largely isolated case, and it's balanced by us.
We don't know
being,
that, though, right? I mean, we don't know that, George. I mean, just in all reality, we don't know.
I know,
that.
brother.
We don't know if they have nukes. How do we know if they're spying on us?
All I'm saying is you can't take a...
Anti-Semite, Nico.
Huh?
Stop being an anti-Semite.
No, I'm just trying to be fair because
I know.
you do the same thing to me, and you have.
Sure.
You can't take an example, legitimate. You can't take an example and extrapolate that to the general
But
because
we also
the same
can't
thing
make the
happened.
conclusion that that's an isolated event. We don't know. It's just one that we know of. I what you're saying.
All I'm saying is, to use the Lahud theorem, don't render an indictment based on a single data point. Christians should be, by nature, good statisticians. We should always do multivariate analysis. We don't do univariate analysis. That's for the unhinged. That's all I'm saying. There's a well-known, particularly with Jonathan Pollard, who was a traitor and who provided intelligence to Israel and was in jail for 35 years.
Yes.
So he didn't get off scot-free. I just want to point that out, 35 years. And the only reason he got out is because it was a strong appeal because his wife got cancer and so forth. But that's a legitimate case of where there was spying by somebody here in the United States who was an American citizen.
Yeah.
He was Jewish.
But the Israeli government welcomed it.
Okay.
I mean, he wasn't spying
During
for
the 6 Day War,
Afghanistan.
the United States, and this is interesting because this is why the USS Liberty was where it was in 1967. It was a spy ship.
People don't understand what you're talking about.
The USS Liberty, which was shot down by friendly fire, was shot down by Israelis. Shot down. It was destroyed. It was a ship, and it was destroyed. You're talking fog of war. Israel. This is a 6 Day War. You've got a major conflict with Egypt. They're flying south, and they're doing traversing the Mediterranean. And so there's hostile ships and there's friendly ships. The USS Liberty got confused for a hostile ship, and it was savagely attacked and blown apart by Israeli fighters. And Israel, I mean, they were... Now, keep in mind, this is a time when the United States is literally the only ally Israel has. The whole world is against them.
Interesting.
And so the notion that they would...
What's the motive?
The notion that they would deliberately... I'm just trying to think like a hood here. The notion... It's a long, dark place to think like that. No, but I mean, it's helpful. But the notion that they would go wipe out a ship that should be at least assumed to be helping is absurd.
Yeah.
And so, and there's lots of other reasons why it just doesn't make any sense. Fog of war. And then I always like the hypocrisy card. Do you have any idea how many friendly fire instances the United States and Britain have engaged in? In other words, we've done that a boatload of times to other people, to other nations. It's happened in war. In World War II, it happened tons of times. So I mean, what do we then conclude? That it was some nefarious objective? I think that's a stretch.
No, that's a legitimate. I mean, a lot of people don't understand the context. Of
Yeah.
that.
And that was a spying. They were trying to find out what was going on. Now, they could have just asked Israel, but they were spying.
Who was spying?
The United States was spying on Israel.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, and you know what? Go for it. I mean, whatever. Do what you got to do. It's America first. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is peel back the layers, take the time, do some homework, and then relook at things before you assail character. Those are people, for goodness sakes. That's all. I try to do the same thing with.
But I'll throw this grenade in this year. I'll tell you one thing that bothers me and that I have not seen, if we're being honest. And this is not a general statement on whether we should support Israel as a general, but October 7th doesn't sit well with me.
This guy and I were on the phone when it was happening, and we were raising these issues. Go ahead, say it.
October 7th.
I mean,
So you have Israel that is this super iron dome, and they know if somebody takes a shit on the east side of whatever, the West Bank, and over here, and they have Mossad and the intelligence. They can hit somebody in an apartment building in Iran.
Oh yeah.
And then these guys drive in. Some drive, and others, like on tricycle with parachutes, come over and for 6 hours go uncontested and massacre 1,200 Israelis on October 7th. Massacre, all on camera. They're proud, and it's
So
pure
something
evil.
doesn't sit right with you because you feel like they would.
What was their stand down order?
Yeah.
Or some people, there's a theory out there,
Right.
a hypothesis. I have no idea. It's just, but it's a legitimate. And
Because-
Charlie asked the
because
same
there's,
question.
They're surveilled and there's intelligence.
Brother, but more than intelligence, surveillance,
Yeah.
Armed security. I mean, this is a fortified
and an elementary type
just
of
some like cavemen just flew in on parachutes
plan.
and just
Yeah.
So
butchered everybody.
Nico brought this up, and it was a rhetorical question because you could see George saying, "This opens the door. It opens the door." By the way, I feel the same way. I think this was a gigantic failure. You want to talk about what I think is a legitimate criticism, and to the extent there's been any internal investigation, nobody knows anything. Nothing's been communicated. Now the Israelis are notoriously private because they see an enemy under every rock.
Right.
Now, again, what's wrong with them? Paranoid? Yeah. If you've been exterminated for 2 millennia, I'm just saying. I'm not.
Okay,
That's not.
how do they protect themselves by analyzing and letting everyone? I mean, explaining
Yes.
to people to gain credibility. How did they go 6 hours? 6 hours.
So here's what I wrote, and I wrote back to you because I thought it was interesting. Opens the door. I said, while it opens the door, the leap to a conclusion of some mass intra-government corruption inside Israel, placing Netanyahu or his people at the center of a betrayal of their own country, is much less plausible, to say the least. That's not just a step out of character. It's a whole different universe run by unicorns. I, too, believe a betrayal of the nation's defenses, and not just an operational failure, could be at issue. And I have from the beginning. But one far more rationally explained by Chinese, Iranian infiltration of sympathizers inside Israel, Arab or Jewish left, than the corruption of a lifelong Hamas-hating Israeli defense warrior. And I have much more to say.
Can we role play?
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's pretend like we're in the Security Council and one of us is Netanyahu. And how long do you think it took for them to know that this was happening in that country? Some short amount of time. Prime Minister, this is happening. What are we doing about it? I'll get back to you. An hour later. What are we doing about it? I'll get back to you. 2 hours later. What are we doing about it? I'll get back to you. 3 hours later. Good about it. They're chopping off babies' heads and putting in ovens. What are we doing about it? They're filming it live streaming it. 5 hours later. What are we doing about it? I mean, please. 6 hours later. I don't know if we did anything about it. They just kind of left on their own. How many of them were killed? How many of the enemies were killed? I'm waiting for that number.
We
I don't know, man.
We don't know the number of that.
So although I didn't jump to any conclusion, I mean, and I was here way before Charlie. I'm not jumping to any. I'm just saying that's legitimate questioning. This fortified Israel Iron Dome. They can protect themselves, and they're this and they're great, and Mossad, and they have all this intel. 6 hours. I'm waiting. I mean, I'm just saying now
And afraid that the answer could reveal a lot of other bad stuff.
I don't know but I'm not even there yet. You're going a step further. I'm not even there yet. All I'm saying is I want answers to that before I go anywhere else. And there's no. And I know you weren't talking to me. I haven't made any conclusions. I'm just waiting for an answer. I'm not gonna make any conclusions until I have more evidence. I'm just saying.
you have questions.
The people that have a hypothesis that do say the things that are going around there, they're not crazy. Play this out. How do you think that worked out in that Security Council meeting, whatever they do with Netanyahu and his team? After 3 hours of this being, updated on this, where are the troops? Where are the battles in the streets? Nothing. They went unscathed for 6 hours in that small country with that high security and that ability. It just doesn't. I don't know. What do you think, George?
My recollection is that you had the IDF engage gunmen in gunfights for a long time, and you had ultimately 1,200. Was it 1,200 people? Like 1,200 people died, right?
Israelis.
So, Israelis, exactly. So this was
At least maybe 1,400. I don't know.
Yeah. So there's always the concern of because this has happened inside Israel until the wall went up. No, it's not an apartheid wall; it's a defense wall. But long before the wall went up, you had infiltrations into major cities in Israel like Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, and you had suicide bombs. and so is there a legitimate concern maybe that we don't know we don't know what the hell's going on? This was like blitzkrieg, and now they rallied the IDF. What is it that we're dealing with? Do we have suicide bombers? Certainly wouldn't be the first time. And so I don't know what the calculus was, Nico, but they I don't remember. No, I'm trying to address your specific concern. I don't remember Israel sitting on its ass doing nothing. I mean, this happened, and I remember the IDF being engaged.
If it was that easy, why haven't they all done it?
Well, I don't.
If you have and on multiple fronts, if it's that easy, if it was that easy to take out 1,400, and I don't know how many IDF people were killed. I'm not saying they didn't engage at all, but at what hour did they engage?
Brother, I'm not conceding the notion that it's easy.
I'm not saying that affects us directly. I'm just saying when people are questioning character.
No, but you're saying if it's that easy, we don't know that it was easy. I'm suggesting that
you
there
don't
was.
think it was easy? People in parachutes flying over? Just walking over, driving over with no resistance? I don't know.
What I'm suggesting is that I don't have but brother, I'm not pushing back and saying there's no corruption. I just don't believe that it falls at the corruption falls at the feet of Benjamin Netanyahu. And knowing Netanyahu's history matters.
If that happened in the United States, you don't think Trump would make a public spectacle of whoever, if there was a betrayal by somebody else, wouldn't any head leader, would Bukele do it? Would any head leader that wants to keep credibility with their people, wouldn't they make a spectacle out of where something failed, whether it was intentional or if it's not intentional, then man, they're weaker than we thought Russia was strong. That's terrible. This is not it wasn't a sophisticated operation.
Look, I don't.
And for me, maybe I'm too much of a thinker, but what made these cavemen think that they could get away with that?
That's a lawyer, Nico.
No, I'm just asking a question. But there's nothing behind that question. It's a legitimate question. And I want an answer that just makes sense to me. That's all. If you're going to analyze this stuff, I don't know. I'm just asking it. And it's not a sarcastic, it's not a Candace Owens ask. It's not a Tucker Carlson ask. I'm not asking it that way. It's a legitimate question. That's all. And we haven't heard anything. But let's be fair. I haven't heard any shit about Butler either. About that weirdo kid that got 150 feet from the 130 feet from the president or the former president and soon to be next president, and took a shot at him and took his ear and skimmed his ear and then got taken out. We don't know crap about him. How did he get so close? So I guess I'm an equal opportunity questioner. I'm just asking questions. People don't trust government because people don't feel informed.
From day one, I believe that there was some sort of corruption. The only difference is I don't know that I'm prepared to put it at the feet of someone with and I know you're not. Yeah, I'm just saying you're asking.
I'm just
you're
asking.
An equal opportunity. I get it. I know where you're coming from.
Okay.
All I was qualifying was people jump to this is Netanyahu. He's a corrupt mother effer, and he's doing and he's got a concert of people around him. It's always Netanyahu. He's literally the face of evil. These people. He's literally the Antichrist. And I'm saying what? So I concede. In fact, at the time I said, it's hard for me to stomach the notion that Mossad would have been compromised.
You said that.
Did I say that?
Yep, you did say something.
It's hard for me to accept that, but I'm willing to accept it because I can't explain it to anyone. I said that.
Yeah.
So, but the notion that this is Netanyahu doing it, this is a multi-generational Israeli first family. Like through thick and thin. He lost a brother, dear brother, to war by the same factions that are trying to destroy Israel today. Okay? So this is a guy who bleeds love for Israel. And that's at the same time conceding that there's plenty of problems with Netanyahu. I'm not perfect. I don't think every time he opens his mouth he's telling the polished, perfect truth. I wouldn't believe that. So all I'm saying is I don't know that that's where I'd put a traitorous blame of corruption. Do I think corruption happened? It's hard for me to accept
hard,
that it
right?
didn't.
Yeah.
Mossad is second only to the CIA.
I have one
And if not at the same caliber as the CIA.
one final. I don't even know if I should ask it because I know our time is spent.
I don't know. Go ahead.
As far as the church's role, do you feel? I want to phrase this the right way, but naturally there is, by way of Christian pastors, a hesitation to call out Israel, which I think is the like, hey, these are God's chosen people. Just the like, hey, this steps on a lot of theological nerves. Do you feel like it's not a silence, but just the like caution from Christian pastors? Is it warranted to call out from their pulpit? Like, because we talk about calling out things from the pulpit at all costs, and not being silent. Is it warranted to not say like, hey, turn the blind eye, like these are, don't say anything bad, but is the caution at least warranted to say, I wanna wait before I send a criticism that way to Israel because of the theological nerve of these are God's chosen people?
Nico, we have an entire Old Testament where God Himself
Is
is
rebuking
correcting Israel
Study the book of Judges.
in love.
Yeah.
I don't see the problem with doing
don't
that.
either.
As long as it's clear and you explain the context. Anytime you're going to do that, you owe people that. You owe a nation that.
It's great.
But it's correction, in season and out of season, correct, encourage, and rebuke with great patience and careful instruction, right? 2 Timothy 4. I mean, so yes, we should do it. Again, God's chosen people is I believe, is George's definition. Is they were chosen
They
to
were.
to usher in the gospel message.
It's like Mary.
Yes, we don't pray to her, we don't worship
No.
her. We honor her.
Yep, but she was a sinner.
Absolutely, in need of a savior. She said it herself, right? So absolutely. So what I'm saying is, I think that there's this fear to criticize constructively Israel, and I don't see why.
Yeah.
I don't see why. I mean, the chosen people, and I believe that people like Candace and Tucker and others. Look, the people say, "Oh, there's arrogance of the Jewish people, and they think they're God's chosen." Well, they were, but if they think they have a free pass, man, that's a risky proposition. And there's
Yeah,
nothing-
no, for sure.
They don't. They're not chosen because they think
No,
God's
they're
chosen people
perfect,
would
no.
do this and do that. Well, I mean, they were God's chosen people in the Old Testament, and study the book of Judges. I mean, they
His
got corrected.
anger was kindled
Oh,
against
yeah.
them.
He was silent to them
time and
for
time
400
again.
years. He
Absolutely.
turned off his ear to them for 400 years.
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely. I just think that the same amount of, like for me, it's almost the reverse. Pastors that will unequivocally stand with and not say anything about it or about any criticism towards Israel, I have a critique against that as well.
For not criticizing
For
at all.
not saying anything
I
at
agree
all?
with that. I
No.
agree. Yeah. Because we're truth, what I like to say, we are truth scavengers.
Right.
And no one Israel's not perfect. The United States is not perfect. No, there's no pastor perfect. There was one person perfect on this earth. It was Christ Jesus. But we have to contend for those that are critical of Israel. And if it's constructive, then great. If it's biased, then not great. Right? Then
Sure.
be careful.
Yeah.
But everyone has to contend with God's intent for Israel and how He's going to utilize Israel once
Absolutely.
again for the second coming. Study the book of Revelation.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you have to contend with that.
Yeah.
And so we should pray and work for and advocate for their existence.
Yep.
We should correct them and speak the truth in love, Ephesians 4:15. Do it without timidity, 2 Timothy 1:7. And just call out correction when we need to. That's it. I mean, I don't think there's anything without saying yes. I mean, there's people that say, "I wonder if anybody regrets 1948." I mean, there's people go over the top in their criticism, and I go, "Look, this is simple, maybe not easy. It's just simple. God's message came through Israel. We have a Jewish Messiah. God has a plan for the nation
Special
of Israel, for the second coming, and for the people eventually. And those the ones before then and in between, if they said no to Jesus, they don't get a free pass. I mean, that's what the scriptures say, and I believe the scriptures. That's it. And so I want them to thrive. I want them to be corrected lovingly. I want them to give their life to Christ. I'm going to speak the truth. I have Jewish friends that I love dearly and that I pray with, and I pray in Jesus' name. I don't ask for permission about it. They can't ignore that part. But and then at the right time, I'm going to talk to them about their salvation. And I'm going to, and if I do care for them, I'm going to talk very seriously about where they're going to spend eternity. And then like Paul said, my conscience is clear. But that applies to everybody, not just your Jewish friends and brothers and sisters.
But at the same time, he exclaimed that the gospel, is the power of God for salvation, and with a priority for the Jew. And what does that mean? It came through the Jew. It went first to the Jew. Now, there was a repudiation of it, but there's a remnant.
But there was also there was always a plan for the Gentile.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the gospel message didn't go to the Gentiles because the Jews rejected Christ. It was always going to go to the Gentiles.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So
we got to make sure that,
And people should, we can't do it here now, but go back to Romans 9 and 11. He frames that argument real. But all three chapters, 9, 10, and 11. And he talks, and you brought this up the other day when we were talking. He brought Israel up as the natural branches.
Right.
Because they were the original sort of recipients of the covenant promises. And then now we have Gentiles are the wild branches.
Yes.
That are sort of grafted into the plan. So to Nico's point, yes, of course, but he wanted his people to faithfully take up the mantle, and they didn't. And Paul grieved, but then he shape-shifted or shifted to the Gentiles.
We started late, we ended late because of Pastor Marquise. This is the way he does.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm just saying, Pastor, that's it. Any last-minute comments we got to address? No, we're good. Thanks, guys. Hope this helped you a little bit. Helps us. We learn every time we're talking through these issues because we want to make sure that you can properly handle God's word and ultimately be obedient and disciplined in your approach. So God bless you guys. Bye-bye.